Good morning, everybody. This is Lucian Smith here on the Gallo Radio Show on SuperTalk, Mississippi. We've got with us on the line William Russell, former advisor and state director for the Mississippi campaign, the Donald Trump campaign in Mississippi, and a principal at Magnolia Management Group. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning, Lucian. How are you?
I'm doing well. Now, remind me, do you go by William? Is it Willie? I saw the Twitter handle. I wasn't sure.
I go by William or Will. I've been called a lot worse in my time.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling. Well, you must be very pleased, having worked so hard on the campaign, to now see everything going on.
Oh man, I couldn't be more happy. Let me first though offer my condolences to the listening audience and to SuperTalk Mississippi for losing a giant in Mississippi and Paul Gallo. So I've been on his radio show now several times. I never had the opportunity to be in this medium with him to have a conversation like this. But his voice still rings through my ears and through my head for the years of listening to him. I did, especially as I was growing up and getting really engaged in politics and kind of the cultural scene like this. So huge loss, shoes that will never be adequately filled. But
Amen.
We're very thankful for the time that we had with him.
Amen.
And it's kind of fitting, like that this entire Donald Trump renaissance kind of comes as a culmination in his life. But also kind of a culmination in Mississippi's. This is a huge time for Mississippi. Like we've all not just Mississippians, we all as a country have been looking for some answers the past couple of years. And I mean, in the first 2 weeks of Donald Trump's administration are a testament. There's going to be massive change that is going to make a sweeping difference across the country. And I for one have been I've been stunned over the past, first 14 days or however many days it's been, just to see the difference. It's a night and day shift that we've seen, and you can feel it everywhere, but specifically on the streets of Washington and on Capitol Hill, just that there's an engagement that we haven't seen. There's an excitement that we haven't seen in many, many years. And I'm very thankful for that. It makes guys like me, makes job for me, guys like me in D.C. Easier to get work done when everyone's excited to come to work every day.
I'm sure. And it's such a big change. I mean, I think people are used to presidents coming in and, you have that flurry of executive orders on the first day, but they're, for the most part, I'm not saying there aren't exceptions, most of the time when presidents come in, they've got these executive orders, but a lot of them are more symbolic than anything. It's sort of a way of messaging, look, we're getting after it. With Trump, it feels like they're actually getting after it, and they've been getting after it since before he was sworn in. But I mean, it's tough to believe that we're just a few weeks into this administration, as much as he's already doing.
Well, I was just doing some thinking on this over the weekend. Like, if this is what the first 2 weeks of the Trump administration is going to be like, what do we have in store for the other three years and 50 weeks that we have for this Trump administration? I'm very excited, and I will also say that. The movement that he's made, the promises that he made, obviously on the campaign, he's fulfilling now through executive order. There's another leg to this that, I know that your listeners are acutely aware of. There's going to be a legislative side of things that we have to do. Obviously, they passed the Lake and Riley Act, I believe, beginning of last week, maybe end of the week before. There are going to be opportunities where Donald Trump can not only assert himself through the executive fiat that he has excellently used thus far, we're also going to have to step into the fray when it comes to a legislative standpoint. Now, Donald Trump's not going to be president of Congress. He's president of America. Now, but we are going to have to push. And there are a couple of things that I think the Trump administration from a legislative side are still trying to figure out, right? We've talked about on Capitol Hill as Republicans getting back to regular order, or establishing regular order in our processes. Like, are we going to have the drive to do that now? Are we going to have the drive to pass 12 appropriations bills? Are we going to have the drive to kind of return to things and get our fiscal house in order on top of all the other legislative policies, action that we're going to have to take? Yet to be seen, right? But we've still got time in here, truly. if we're crunching the numbers here, by the numbers, we're probably going to lose a chamber in the midterm. So really, he's got a finite amount of time here through the next 16 months. Right.
Yeah,
we've got a finite amount of time to get this done.
Presidents tend to lose the House at least in that first midterm election.
Right. And so we need a big.
Hopefully the Democrats bungle it enough for us, but I think you're right. We got to assume we got 2 years to get it done.
Right, and less than. I mean, somebody was I was having lunch with somebody, a political animal, and he was like, "You recognize when some of these primaries actually start? They start in the beginning, in like Q1 of next year." Which is just mind-boggling to me.
That's a really
that we're that close to it. So we got to move. We got to move on the stuff that we want to get done.
Talk a little bit about what regular order means for people who aren't as attuned to how Congress, at least theoretically, should work and used to work.
Sure. Well, back in the day, we have 12 appropriations bills that come out of the House. They originate in the House, go through the committee process, and get kicked over to the Senate. If we don't have concurrence, then we're going to have to go to the conference and work it out. And all of these bills establish the regular spending processes and the regular appropriations processes that we as Americans expect Congress to have. Now, we haven't passed a full budget in. I don't want to say a date because I'm going to get caught on it. I think it was late 2000s, but we haven't established that. Instead, we've been passing omnibus bills and continuing resolutions year over year to address our financial situation. Now, it's a go along to get along mentality. It's a little frustrating because those bills that you can just add everything in. It's basically conference, right? Everyone comes together, they agree on one bill, they pass it and put it through. But in order for part of the things, and I throw like DOGE is a very good example of this, Department of Government Efficiency, right? There's been an idea of making the government more efficient that has been kind of percolated throughout the campaign. One of the things that we're doing when we establish regular order, we get back to regular rhythm of Congress, it forces us to be more intentional about the things that we're spending money on. It's intentional about the bills that we're passing, which I think the intentionality has kind of been lost. We're not looking through each specific sector of every government dollar, every tax dollar that's been collected that's going out on our behalf from the U.S. government. We're not being specific on the spending. There are a lot of fiscal hawks in Congress right now, and there are a lot of people. There's kind of two trains of thought. Right? One is get back to regular order, get back to the normal processes, pass 12 appropriations bills, get back to the way things were and are expected to be run. And then there's another subset of Republicans who are like, throw that away. Like, we don't need that. We're going to just continue to pass continuing resolutions and omnibus bills because this is our time,
that's part
right?
of how we got in this trouble, right?
Right. We want to go. Let's just forget it. Like, if Donald Trump has a priority, let's take the border wall as an example, right? That is not a revenue neutral project. We have to go out and find the funding. The only people who can do that is U.S. Congress. They are the only ones who can approve it. So let's just cram it into an omnibus bill and shove it down the road and expect to get done. So I'm curious to see, not just for politics writ large, but when it comes to the Republican Party specifically, whose side are you going to fall on? Are we going to try to return to some normalcy, or are we just going to shove it down Congress's throat and just pass these bills?
Do you have a sense of where the president is and the D.C. team around him on this is, or do you think they're still trying to figure out whether they want to get back to regular order or maybe kind of get things done the more recent way because it gets things done?
I think they're still trying to figure that out themselves. Obviously, there's only so much work you could do leading into becoming president. His relationships on Capitol Hill, I mean, he's had them now for the better part of almost 10 years, right? Just being in and around D.C. and being a leader in the party. I'm not sure. I know they're focused on the wins that they've been able to do, the low-hanging fruit that they nailed over the first 2 weeks of this presidency. There will be some doldrums that come up just in the normal iteration of a yearly cycle. So we'll start seeing some more application a little bit in the coming weeks. I would assume
that makes
sense.
We
got some deadlines coming up in the next month, so. From a budgetary standpoint, that we're going to have that conversation.
We're coming up on a break here. Can you stick with us for another segment?
You got it.
Hey, y'all, this is Lucian Smith here on the Gallo Radio Show. Stick with us for more with William Russell, Donald Trump's man in Mississippi, after this break. Good morning, y'all. This is Lucian Smith here in our final segment in the second hour with William Russell, principal of Magnolia Management Group, and was the director of Mississippi for Donald Trump. So, William, what are you up to now? Are you in the administration, or what is Magnolia Management Group?
Well, I have got, that's a popular question right now. So I have made the decision to kind of take a step back. I started. Lucian, I don't know if you remember this. This is dating back. It's going to date me. This is probably back in 2016. That's when you and I first met, when I was a young Trump staffer. Yeah. You were so on fire for Donald Trump. I absolutely loved it. You're probably the biggest cheerleader of the state of Mississippi. It's been a long time, those 9 years or 10 years that I've been kind of serving in different capacities, the president. And it's an appropriate time, I think, for the young folks that have been working very, very hard throughout this campaign to kind of step up and go in and serve those roles within the government. Over the past few years of being in the private sector, I built my own company that focuses on crisis PR, like risk management from a political and public relations standpoint. And we're based in D.C. That's what Magnolia Management does. It's an homage to my great state, our great state of Mississippi. And that's kind of what I'm going to be working on moving forward. I've talked to the president several times about this. I've got also a couple of young kids at home, and so government service, man, those long hours in the White House I lived before, and I thought, how can anybody have kids? And
it is very much a young man's game. I was talking to a good friend who's a very successful conservative attorney, and we've got a lot of friends who've joined the Trump administration on the legal front, and that's what we were talking about. It's one thing to be 26 years old, no kids, working till 1 o'clock in the morning, eating pizza. It's a lot different when you got kids and a family are waiting at home for you.
I was joking with a buddy who's kind of in the same position that I am and served that time, previous administration as well. And he and I are both kind of in our diaper eras right now. Yep. That's what we're focused on. Obviously, I'm so thrilled with what has happened, though, and I've still got a lot of friends that went into the government, and it's nice to be able to now watch and be a part of, from the outside, everything that they're doing, right? Going on, having conversations with people, being able to help push the policies that they want to push from the inside, and be kind of like an outside arm and an extension to help them. And it's something that I've enjoyed doing the past couple of weeks, and I know that life's going to be busy for the next 4 years. We got still a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do.
What's the mood like in D.C.? Because I would imagine you're obviously interfacing with a lot of people who are thrilled because we've got Donald Trump back in there. But I imagine a lot of the deep state career Northern Virginia folks are probably pretty sad, pretty depressed right now that they're going to have to go get real jobs.
Well, it makes those trips to the supermarket a little bit more difficult because everyone's a little bit more tense. There is an element of that. Obviously, I think my family and I have found good community up here, that we are constantly being built up by the people around us. Good church family, good friends. There is an element of this, and I'll echo that. One of the things that Donald Trump did in the first couple of weeks was mandate that the government employees return to their offices, which I've seen some heads explode over that. Sure. But there's an element of that the work that you do, you need to be with coworkers. The collaboration point of view is very important, right? That's one of these open office concepts have been kind of really taking hold, because you want to have that collaboration between coworkers. You want to know how you can help somebody else, how somebody else can help you to get the job accomplished, right? And so Donald Trump's part of this efficiency thing that he keeps talking about, keeps bringing it up with the federal government. We want to get everybody back to work in their offices. If you don't want to do that, it's totally fine. I'm sure there's a stay at home job that you can do somewhere else, but it's not going to be found in the federal government. And that created a lot of angst, but I think that we're going to start seeing the fruits of the labor when it comes to some people leaving the workforce out of the government that have, it's time for them to go. And obviously offering us the opportunity to take the people into these different departments and administrations, refine these offices to create some more efficiency. And I'll give you an example. So I was part of that in the first administration. I spent some time, first 8 months of the last administration, on the Department of Agriculture, USDA beachhead team, where our responsibility was to come and find some ways that we could take some offices, move them together, and create more efficiency. The work products that's coming out, it's going to be quicker, it's going to be faster, it's going to be more thorough. And I think that's what they're focused on right now, too. And you'll see that percolate through the rest of the government.
We've got about 15 seconds left. William, you got any final thoughts?
I want to thank the Mississippians. They worked really, really hard to get Donald Trump elected, not just here in Mississippi, but throughout the country this past cycle. It's a testament to your will and your efforts that Donald Trump is back in the White House. So thank you from the Trump campaign.
Hey, look, we're proud to have a good Mississippian like you, William, so close to this president, and thanks for all you've done to make his election happen.
Absolutely.
Yo, this is Lucian Smith here on the Gallo Radio Show on SuperTalk Mississippi. Stick with us. We got Fox News coming up, followed by SuperTalk Mississippi News.